Riddle me this. Immortal Batman versus the Riddler. Riddles will decide the fate of an innocent man. Can you figure out the answers before Batman reveals them? The planet Elvir, Class 3, Core Protectorate. Neon signs flash as Batman walks quietly through the medieval-esque streets. Most don't give the immortal legend a second look, but a young woman pushes through the crowd. "The immortal legend Batman? What are you doing here?" she asks as she falls into step behind him. Batman doesn't bother looking at her.
"I'm looking for Bruce Wayne. Have you seen him?"
he questions. She nods as they continue through the market, explaining that Bruce Wayne had recently returned and moved back into the castle that he owned and was renovating it. "We actually thought Mr. Wayne had forgotten he even owned it. Guess we were wrong. He's been there ever since. Seems a bit reclusive. But such is the way of the rich and famous," she says with good cheer. "Be careful if you're heading up there, though. People say it's cursed," she tells him, explaining that some people, such as the groundskeeper Caden, had gone missing recently. She stops as they reach the edge of the market. "You still haven't mentioned why you're here, though. We haven't had any shadow attacks around here for years. We've been really lucky," she says. But Batman keeps walking. He glances back at her over his shoulder.
"There is a shadow here, but there won't be for long. Spread the word. Stay away from the castle until I leave this planet. It won't be safe until then. Thank you for the information,"
he calls out to her. Shortly, Batman arrives at Castle Amu. He pauses for a moment and stares at the bronze plate on the door, noting the strange symbols before pushing his way inside. The main foyer is lit by an overhead chandelier. Batman pauses for a moment as a hologram springs to life, showing an image of a smiling Bruce Wayne dressed in a green question-marked suit. "You're here! You're finally here! You spent so long with the scientist, the deceiver, and the brute. I was starting to think you'd never find your way to me. But you're here now, so we can play our game!" Bruce cheers, but Batman shakes his head.
"No games. You can tell me where you are, or I can blast this place apart until I find you."
Batman growls at him, but Bruce turns away. "Oh, you. Boring old you. Predictable, but I did factor that in. After all, riddle me this. What manner of game master would I be if I built a game without an incentive structure?" Bruce asks. The image shifts, and Batman sees a man tied to a chair, 3 bombs strapped to his body. "This is Caden. To avoid coating the walls of this place with wet Caden chunks, all you need to do is follow the path," Bruce says, explaining that there will be 3 riddle rooms. For each riddle that Batman gets right by entering a simple word into the computer terminals, one of the bombs will be deactivated. Force an exit, Caden explodes! Fail to submit an answer within 3 minutes of entering the riddle room, Caden explodes. Misbehave, Caden explodes! Bruce cheers. Batman waves his hand.
"Enough. You've made your point,"
he growls. The smile falls away from Bruce's face, replaced by a vicious sneer. "Good, then get going. Solve my riddles, and in doing so, answer my question," Bruce tells him as Batman exits the room. He moves through the halls of the castle, passing picture frames with nothing but darkness inside them. But he stops when he discovers a book sitting on a table. He stares at it for a moment. The Lost Train of Thought, a detective chimp adventure. Memories flood through Batman's mind of sitting in bed while Alfred reads to him. "Detective Chimp is so clever! How does he do it, Alfred? How does he always figure out the answer?" young Bruce asked. Alfred looks at his young charge for a moment before putting the book down. "I suppose it might be, you can't just look where they want you to look," Alfred tells him. Now, Batman places the book back on the table and heads for the first riddle room. He pauses at the door to read the first riddle. The question of victories. From what toxic source has the great legend sprung? Speak it now, speak it loud, in meek coward's tongue. The riddle reads. Batman pushes into the room to find a large mural on the wall, depicting his victory over a great shadow monster. But Batman has already figured out the riddle and doesn't look at the painting, but instead at the frame. Symbols point him to the answer, and he immediately walks over to the computer and puts in the correct answer. He moves on. The next hallway has his father's old stethoscope on the wall. Memories of him sitting with his father in the kitchen come to mind. His father was apologizing for missing one of his fencing matches, but explains that he had to be at the hospital, that he had to help people. There are always going to be people who need your help, Bruce had complained. Thomas nodded and explained that every life matters. Remember that, Bruce. Every person counts, Thomas had told him. Batman comes to the second door. The question of failures. Can you describe the range of worlds that you've let down? Give it form as endless streak or clownish frown. The riddle reads. Batman pushes into the room to find statues of the shadows he's fought over the years. He radios Alfred, asking for the statistics of the worlds where he fought these shadows and the number of casualties there were. Alfred lists them off, and Batman figures out the answer. Moments pass, and he quickly moves to the computer terminal and puts in the correct answer. The next hallway is lined with weapons. Batman reaches for a set of cuffs on the wall. Images flash through his mind of a lesson he learned during his training. Roger Elliott had let several prisoners beat Bruce while he was handcuffed. Roger hadn't felt any remorse, explaining that if Bruce truly wanted to be the Batman, he had to take all this pain and nurture it into a howling darkness, and then expel that darkness as wrath. If this is truly to be your path, the price of progress is blood, Roger Elliott had told him. The third door. The question of origins. Describe misfortune meeting destiny to inspire your greatest mistake, and mortal meeting legend in childhood's wake. It reads. Batman steps into the room and regards a frozen holographic image of his parents' death. He sees young Bruce rushing for his parents, his mother's pearls falling away, stained by splattered blood. Across the walls are various words. Batman crosses the room and puts in the correct answer. The next door opens, and Batman steps into a vast chamber that is lit by stained glass windows. Before him sits a box on a pedestal, alongside Caden and the deactivated bombs. Bruce Wayne smiles down at them from the balcony above. Oh ho ho! You did it! You solved the basic puzzles! Congratulations on demonstrating rudimentary intellectual capacity! Bravo! He cheers. Batman doesn't respond. But I must know, did you solve the real riddle? The puzzle within the puzzle, Bruce asks. Batman finally nods.
I did,
he growls. Batman explains that he knew the clues weren't the point of the riddles. The items were designed to elicit memories from Batman, so that Bruce could show that they shared the memories.
You were asking me if there is still a real Bruce Wayne, or am I now a shadow? After all, if you share my memories, then how exactly are we different, right? Which brings me to the fourth puzzle,
Batman says as he motions to the box.
Directing me to this box, telling me it's where I'll find the answer to your question. The truth about whether or not I am truly a shadow of myself,
Batman says as he picks up the box. He tosses it up to Bruce, who catches it with surprise.
But this was all constructed on a faulty assumption.
Batman explains. Bruce doesn't understand.
Your mistake was assuming I'd consider it a question. But I know I'm not a shadow. Because while you might have my memories, the differences are obvious.
Batman says, explaining that he seeks knowledge to help people. But this Bruce seeks knowledge to use as a weapon against others. Batman moves quickly, firing batarangs that slam into the box and explode. Green gas fills the balcony, and when it clears, the Man of Riddles is standing there. The Man of Riddles shakes his head and sighs. Boring, boring little man, he mutters before leaping forward, slashing at Batman with his question mark scythe. I'll split you and slit you and slice you and shred you, the Man who Riddles screams. But Batman whirls and calls forth his energy sword. He twirls and slashes at the Shadow, forcing him back, hacking through his scythe and leaving him defenseless. The Man who Riddles stumbles and falls to his knees, but he holds up a hand. What happens to us, Bruce? We're monsters, I admit that, but we're sentient. Do we have souls? The Man who Riddles whispers. Batman stares at him for a moment.
Finally, an interesting question.
He growls before calling forth the howling slash and cutting through the Shadow, destroying it. Batman turns from the battle and frees Caden. Thank you, the man whispers. He rubs his hands and asks Batman how he figured out all the riddles. Batman explains that the first riddle was simple. Where there were matching symbols on the frame of the painting, he could triangulate certain locations, revealing letters, spelling out the answer, untruth. The second, he was able to solve by using the number of casualties to count through the letters of the world of each incident. He then rearranged the letters chronologically of the events to spell out the answer, rainbow. The third, when viewed from the correct angle, the bloodied pearls literally pointed to the answer, conflux. The fourth, he figured out using the strange panel from the front door and the answers to the three other riddles. The circles lined up with letters of the answers, spelling out truth in box. Caden struggles a little with following Batman's thought process, but is thankful that he was able to solve them all. Well, I owe you my life. Thank you again, he whispers. Batman nods and turns away, but Caden calls out to him. Wait, with that thing gone, what happens to this place? Caden asks. Batman pauses and looks over his shoulder.
It's yours. It's the least of what you deserve for being put through this ordeal,
he says. Caden doesn't understand, asking how Batman can give away something that is owned by Bruce Wayne. The visage of Batman shimmers away, revealing Bruce Wayne's sad face. Because Bruce Wayne says it's yours, he says as he leaves. Meanwhile, in the Bat's cave on an uncharted world, Roger Elliott sits quietly and reads an old book, but he senses two beings slipping through the shadows. I understand we don't have rules about immortal legends not entering each other's sanctums, but it certainly rubs me the wrong way, Roger calls out as he closes the book and turns to look at Robin and Nightwing as they step from the shadows.
I'm not sure you get a vote. You're no longer serving as an immortal legend, Roger,
Dick reminds him. The heroes ask Roger why Bruce has stopped fighting alongside them. Why there are reports that he has been traveling the galaxy and killing humans. Roger stands and reaches for the reports. You know, I truly had no idea, but I have eyes around the galaxy, he says, explaining that the reports indicate that Batman has been hunting Bruce Wayne, but there are more than one, which reminded me of something, he whispers as he reaches for the book. He holds it up to them, explaining that it details ancient training from the first immortal legend Batman. explaining an advanced and forbidden technique that would allow a Batman to become stronger by separating themselves from their flaws.
So you think separating himself from his flaws resulted in these flaws manifesting themselves as shadows?
Nightwing questions. Roger nods. I think only Bruce would believe himself so exceptional that he would survive the ordeal. He snaps.
If these shadows are him, then killing them would be killing himself.
Robin points out. Roger waves away the idea. He is more concerned with Bruce's actions destroying the legend of Batman, that people will look to them in fear. He jabs a finger into Nightwing's chest. You have to stop him before he destroys everything your predecessors sacrificed everything for, he orders. Nightwing knocks the hand away.
If you had so much reverence for our shared history, you'd know the immortal legends stand together, no matter what,
he says before they turn away and disappear into the shadows. Alone once more, Roger reaches for his communicator, warning Thomas that Bruce will have company very soon. That's fine, Father. Let him bring whomever he wants. It won't matter. And it turns out, I won't have to find him. I know where his final target is, and I'll be waiting for his long-awaited return to Gotham. Thomas Elliot reports. And that was the complete story for Immortal Legend Batman, Issue 3 by Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom. Quite the Riddler story. Did you figure out the answers to the riddles before Batman revealed them? Let me know in the comments below. I know I certainly didn't, but I'd love to hear what you thought. And don't forget to like and subscribe to help the channel out in that YouTube algorithm. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.